Texaco Camaro YouTube page. My name is Jason Bottenfield. I run the 1969 race prep Texaco Camaro in the Optima Ultimate Street Car series. And I just wanted to kind of do a quick recap of the round one at Charlotte Motor Speedway on the ROVAL, but also to touch base a little bit on the new format and maybe a little bit, in depth on the format. So just to kind of have an update of what the changes are if you've run Optima in the years past. I mean, I'm still fairly new. It's only my third season. So I know that there's people out there that are going to be coming that are brand new to the events. There's going to be people that have come in the past and they kind of, got the hang of it and maybe haven't been for a while. So I thought maybe just having a quick, recap, or sometimes I say quick, but then I keep talking for a while, but we'll see. I think, if the content makes sense, sometimes I just keep listening to, whatever somebody has to say, if it really makes sense. So a couple things I wanted to talk about was, what is the Optima series and why you should come out, the new format, and then talk a little bit about the Charlotte ROVAL, and maybe I'll do another one just on, a little bit more in depth on my experiences. I put a few posts out on the Instagram page of, driving, on the course, on the high banking. I have the new Sadev 924 LT, which is long tail, and we're prototyping it and we're testing it right now, and that's just been fun, and I'll probably do something else on that as well. But for today, I just wanted to talk about, the new Optima format and what that looks like. So just for those of you that don't know what the Optima Ultimate Street Car series is, it's essentially a grassroots type racing series. And really what that means is that there's, nobody's really racing for money per se, but, everybody's out there to have fun. But it is really, really competitive. I mean, if you haven't gone to an event, or you're kind of, wondering what the competition level is, the thing is, like I always say, and I've said many times, is that even if you're not, if you're new to racing, in which, 2 years ago, I was brand new. I've never raced in a competition. I've never, my car was just built. I'd never raced it, and just kind of threw myself out there and just kind of went for it. But, there's levels, and I started off in the novice. And so there's a novice area to where you can kind of just get your feet wet and get going. And I think that's just great about the series, is that anybody can come out with any car. It has to be street legal, has to fit within the rules, and maybe I'll do a something on the rules, because I think, in the class that I run in, the GTV class, things are getting a little bit, they're starting to stretch a little bit, but we'll save that for another time. But as far as coming out, being a novice, and just really wanting to experience your car, or just kind of get into driving, this series is great. So if you can make the trip out, if it's in your area, I'd really say come out. It's super fun. And what it is it's 5 elements. So it's autocross, road course, braking and acceleration, which we call the Peak Performance Challenge, and road rally, which is, basically a cruise into town, usually going to an Advanced Auto Parts store, which is one of the big sponsors for the series, along with Summit and Optima and Lingenfelter, and just a whole host of other sponsors that really put this together. But Optima being at the top and Advanced being right underneath them, that's why we go to the store usually on a road rally cruise, to show you that the car is street legal. I mean, if you get pulled over by a cop, you lose your points. And so they have a mechanism to make sure that they know if that were to happen. So, but then the last piece is really kind of the big linchpin piece that's different than a lot of series, is that you have the design and engineering. And so you can't just show up with a fully blown, race prepped, stripped down, one seat, just, thrown together car, because I mean, you can, and you can run, you can have fun, and some people do. There's a buddy of mine that runs in the Outlaw, the Dirty Datsun, the 69 Datsun, call it the Dirty Datsun, but, his car is awesome. I mean, it's in the Outlaw because it is a tube chassis race, full on, kind of stripped down, go out and have fun, have a great time. And that's what he does. But the D&E is really design and engineering, and the Outlaw cars don't have to go through that. And so what that is just you have 4 minutes to explain your car, explain what you've done to it, kind of sell your car, And, you know, that's the differentiator, is that if you don't have the car put together, then you're probably not going to get on the podium and win. But at the end of the day, it's not all about winning. It's all about having fun. And then the GTV, the vintage, the V for vintage, is, you know, a lot of the 89 and older cars. So, you know, it's really cool to see old muscle cars and just anything that's 89 and older out there, just kind of, you know, getting after it and having fun. So that's the Optima Ultimate Street Car Series. That's what it is. Now, for those of you that have been and are veterans and more veteran-ish than I am, I just wanted to kind of talk to everybody about the new format and just say at the beginning, I love it. You know, I guess I'm not a traditionalist of the Optima Ultimate Street Car because I haven't necessarily done enough of them, but you know, I did enough to where I knew the format. And you know, one of the things that was the big pickup for me, that just in hearing about it, when Jimmy Day, which is the I guess he calls himself the chief steward now, but he's the race director and he's the head guy that kind of manages all the others. And they do a great job of setting all these up, all the people that come out and set it up. But the new format, I love it. And I love it for, you know, a few different reasons, but it is different. And it does add an element of having to stay on your toes a little bit. But the main reason that I like it is, you know, some were saying, hey, you may not get enough track time, or track time is going to get reduced. And I didn't really feel like that's the case. I mean, a lot of times whenever people go out, I mean, because we're running 200 tread wear tires, I mean, they go out for 1 or 2 or 3 laps or 2 hot laps, and then they're done. So, you know, I feel like we got the same amount of track time, but it was spread out over a multitude of days. And that really helps somebody like me out that's new, because you know, I'm not the best driver yet. I mean, I'm trying to advance my skills and everything else, but you know, to get on course so what really changed is that we're coming in on Fridays. It used to be that you could come in on Friday, do an early tech or do your tech, and then you could potentially come in on Saturday morning and do a late tech, and then everything started Saturday and Sunday. Now things start on Friday. And so, you know, you've got tech that has to be done on Friday. And then you go out for these orientation laps. And what I like about the orientation laps is, you know, especially when I was new and we did it right before we would go race, but now you have basically a night to rest, to look over any video, to think about your racing line, to think about whatever you want to think about with the road course. Because, you know, autocross and, you know, the braking, acceleration, and obviously road rally, just cruising your car, I mean, these are all things that you could potentially do locally, that you could get comfortable with. It's not as high speed, you know, there's less things that can happen, but they do happen. But there's a little bit less anxiety, at least from my standpoint. And so when you're going onto a big course, like we just came off Charlotte on the ROVAL, Charlotte Motor Speedway, I mean, I've never been on, you know, 20% plus degree banking. My first race ever was Pikes Peak International, and that was 13 or 14%. But, you know, that was a long time ago. That was a couple of years ago. But, you know, whenever you're able to get out on track, kind of get the kinks out or the bugs out of your system of what that track looks like, because unless you've got some super advanced simulator, you know, I have a little bit of a simulator rig that I look at and use, and it's helpful. But I don't have the, you know, some people have the 10 to 15 to 20 to 30 to 50 to $100,000 simulators that they can run in, and it kind of creates a real environment. But to get out there, if you don't have that, and at least I would say, you know, just as a note for people, is to get a GoPro or get some sort of video footage that goes forward, so that you can see what you did on the track, and you can kind of just have that real-time track in your mind on a video, whatever it may be. You know, YouTube's great, but then it's like, you know, you don't get the angle that you want, or, you know, you're not really seeing the way it is right now, and maybe a sign changed, or maybe, you know, colors changed on the wall. So all these little points to where you might be looking at, and even looking to where flashing yellow lights where you can see where your flag stations are, or on these nice tracks, you know, they have lights in the walls, so you really can get a perspective of what's going on. So just to be able to get all of that information and put it in, and maybe sleep on it over the night, or look at it the night before or in the morning, I think that helps. So that's Friday when you come in, is that you do the tech, and then you do orientation laps at night, and then you get to kind of look at that feedback. And then you roll into kind of a typical Saturday, except for really it's action packed. I mean, I always kind of feel like I'm always doing something all day at the events, because things are so packed in that, you've got autocross sessions running, you've got D&E on Saturday and autocross on Saturday, then you have the road rally at the end. Well, add in road course to Saturday now. So at the end of, really all of the other things before you go out on the road rally, kind of in between there, you're going to do a qualifying session. And the qualifying, I was a little bit, everybody's been watching the F1 Drive to Survive and all that other stuff on Netflix, and it's super awesome. And you have people radioing in, and they know where people are on track, and you kind of see it all coordinated. And then you start to think, wow, we're going to have two groups, and let's say there's, 30 cars in each group, and they're all out there on track and just kind of mixing it up for a qualifying, for a hot lap, for a timed lap. And I think we worked out some of the kinks, which was, one of the things that was a little bit of an issue for the qualifying is that the people at the front, and then you've got people in the back, and with a bigger course, you spread out a little more. But if you're going slow, and whenever they throw the green coming on to the start finish line to start the qualifying session, everybody else needs to go green at that time too, even if you're only halfway around the track. So, that's something for people to consider and think about. If you're kind of wanting to stay in the back because you were slower, or whatever your reasons are, you're not comfortable with the track yet, you still need to go pretty hot, or hot, when the green drops and you don't see any flags at other stations. And that may be one thing that people, don't pick up when they're new, is that, you have the yellow flags that are waving, but then you start driving and you're like, wow, I didn't see a green flag. I don't see anything going. Like, what's going on? What should I do? If you don't see flags, it's a green. So it's time to go. So that's something to consider if you're new. And I know that gets, a mistake a lot. And I did it myself, so I'm not acting like I knew, because, I still have to kind of keep going through the flags in my head. I mean, it's starting to get there over time, but first race of the year, you got to get those bugs out. But the qualifying was really awesome. I mean, you have 30 minutes. You can go out whenever you want. So it's just a hot track. So if you're doing like, track days where you're a member or something like that, to where the track's hot for 30 minutes and then it's not hot, then it is hot for your cars, and they cycle through. I mean, that's essentially what it is you can come into a hot pit, cool down your tires, check your pressures, do whatever you need to do, take some clicks out or whatever people do, and then go back out for, a couple more laps, and you just kind of mix yourself in. And so that's essentially, what I did was, went out, got some laps, came back in, just kind of made sure everything was working right. I mean, I've changed a lot of things on the car, and this was the first full test of, I've had the motor out, new transmission, got the side head full sequential in there, just wanted to check things over, because it's the first, I had it on track, but hadn't really, pushed it extremely hard. And so pushed it pretty hard, and then, came in, checked things, 5-10 minutes, went back out with, probably 12 minutes or so left in the session, and went back out there and tried to put in as good a lap as I could. So I ended up, being able to qualify in the lower end of the fast group, but I got into the fast group, so I was excited to be there. I'm not sure if it really makes a big difference, but maybe, some would say that hopefully the faster cars will stay on track more, but you're also going faster. So faster cars, can potentially not stay on track. And, I've done that myself. So, but got into that group. So, but again, just like I talked about with Friday, of having a night or, at the end of that session to review what you did, the same thing for Saturday, except for now I have even more data, and I was going obviously full speed, because the orientation, you're going, yellow flag, caution speed, style, and you don't really get to kind of feel what your car is going to do through kinks and things like that. So now I've got all this other data, and it's just, the more time and intervals between the time that you did something, I think just in anything, if you're studying for a test or you're doing this, the more time you can put intervals for your mind to really marinate and saturate in on that information and then go back out there and do it again, you're going to be better. If you try to back it up and I just want tons of lap time and I'm just going to do 1,000 laps, all together, your brain can't comprehend that. And so I think by breaking this up, what it's really doing is making better drivers, and it's making the better drivers faster because they're really able to kind of pull in the data. And I'm not talking about having laptops and having all this data and tweaking everything. I'm just talking about mental data of the course, where you feel comfortable, where the car is comfortable, and just to go a little bit faster here and go a little bit faster here. There was 2 sections coming into Charlotte on the ROVAL that I was worried about, which was the really kind of the front straightaway kink before the finish line. I was having trouble in the simulator there because you're coming high speed down. It really is kind of slows you all the way down 40, 50 or so miles an hour, maybe 50 or so. And then you got to come out of there. Well, if you're coming down at 110, 120, maybe people are going faster. That's tough to do. I mean, the grip ratio of tires is only the grip ratio of a tire. So, coming through there, and I was always messing up, it was easy to mess up. And then, also, which, didn't turn out to be too bad, was there's, a little bit of a blind right turn hill kind of, coming off a nice straightaway when you're inside of the road course section of the track. And, I kind of felt like coming over that hill, it was almost like, if you came at it wrong, you're pointing right into the grass. If you came at it right, you could really accelerate over the top of the hill, come down, let the car, do its thing, and then get kind of back to neutral before you get on the banking. But right before you get back onto that turn 1 banking, I didn't see that as an issue on the simulator. But watching the Trans Am cars, which is another cool thing, is that Trans Am and SVRA are out there at the same time as us. So being able to watch those cars and what they're doing and just seeing where they're having issues, because they're racing a lot more, I think, than we are. And, probably better drivers than me for sure. And so wherever they're having issues, maybe they're going faster, but wherever they're having issues, I want to make sure that I'm keeping an eye on that. So not only do we have the intervals of the days to run the course, to be able to get that data and kind of let it marinate into your head and do a little bit better at each day's session. You can see these other fast cars and even the SVRA cars are probably not as well handling, or potentially not as well handling as even a car like mine, even if it's a 69 Camaro that is running out there. So, from that standpoint, I'm able to see where they're slowing down and where they're having issues. And that was really good for me to be able to get those 2 spots out of my head and also find another spot that I need to be cautious at. And then the other ones just keep building into it. So, the new format, I think, I didn't feel like I lost the track time. I feel like I actually enjoyed my track time more with the new format. So I think the new format, if people are thinking, well, this reason, that reason, whatever people come up with, I like it, and I'm not just drinking the Kool-Aid. I don't get anything by saying I like it. I liked it. And I liked it for the reason that, and maybe at my driving level, it's better. Maybe if you're a super advanced super driver or whatever you think you are, maybe it doesn't matter about that, but I would say it does. I mean, everybody wants to get out there multiple times, test different things. And so from that element, I really like the new format. It's action-packed on Saturday, though. I mean, it's all day. I mean, you're talking about autocross, you're talking about D&E, you're talking the qualifying, you're talking, you hope your car's still running after qualifying for the road rally, and you're just exhausted. And, so it was really fun. It was really exciting. I want to talk, so that's the new format. I think those other subtle changes just to the concepts, which you can read the rules on, which is on Sunday. There's only 2 sessions. So, you have a morning session, and then you have an afternoon session, and you have to set a good time on each session. Well, you don't have to, but each session is not, well, I had one great lap there, and then my last session I totally blew it. They take both of them, add them up or average them or something. I think they just, add up the scores. So if you're a minute 50 and a minute 45, then you just add them up, and whoever's less obviously is how you rank the standings. So, that's how it works. And if you don't go out, you get a 10-minute time. So if you get a 10-minute time, you're basically last, and you're not going to have the points, and you're not going to get on a podium or win or anything like that. So reliability is the key this year. So, I have always been hesitant with, I have the 2019 LT5 ZR1 Corvette motor, the crate motor that Chevy had. They've discontinued it now, but I haven't changed the tune. I've kept everything running. The Motec runs through the regular computer, and so everything's just kind of tied in. I kept the tune. Nothing's going quirky from that standpoint. So, knock on wood, I've been pretty good with my reliability. What I want to talk about maybe a little bit before I actually go into the Charlotte ROVAL is for people out there that might be new or just kind of tinkering around with their car or wanting to come out is checking bolts and just kind of always checking your car. I had no idea how much you really have to check. I don't know about the new cars, the Porsches, and all this other stuff that are out there that they can just get on the track and drive it home. They can drive it all the way back home if they wanted to. But from the standpoint of like a car like mine that's a 69 Camaro, you've done a lot to it. It's just not it seems like the bolts are always kind of coming loose, and I think that happens on every car. I mean, just from what I've seen is you just got to always be checking your stuff. And so again, even at this event, I found that my sway bar linkage was coming loose, and so I had to get some hardware, and that's one of the things that I've been carrying with me in the trailer now is some hardware. And actually I didn't have the exact piece that I needed, so the Farringtons were there, really nice people, always been at the Optima Ultimate Street Cars for many, many years. And so they've gone through these iterations to where every event I learn what tool I might need for just going forward. And it's not always that I need the tool, it's that I see someone else had an issue and like, that could be me and I need to have that tool, I need to have that part. But the Farringtons had a lot of hardware, and they helped me out and gave me the one little, the bolt and the nut that I needed for my situation, grade 8 stuff, which is tough to find at Lowe's and all that. So that was very helpful, so I appreciated that. But my point here is that just always be looking after your car. You can't just go out there and beat on these cars and not look after them. There's always something that's shaking loose. But just a PSA announcement, and maybe I'll talk about some of the other things that I've gone through over the years as far as what I'm carrying on my trailer now that I didn't know to carry in the beginning. I know I said I was going to do something like that last year, and then just time got past me. But I think it would be really informative to kind of, just from my standpoint, see what I'm actually bringing now and how I'm actually trying to figure out what new things I need to bring or new things I need to get. But let's talk a little bit about the Charlotte ROVAL. That was super speedway, exciting, bucket list type stuff. I mean, that track is awesome. I didn't go to my full potential, and I know it. I got to the level to where I think I was pushing myself and I was trying to scare myself, but I didn't fully scare myself going around that track. And I know I could pick up, more time. And, I ended up, I think I was second in the GTV as far as time, and probably like, 4, 5, 6 tenths off the first place individual. So I know I could pick up, more time. But, I took it, and that's the beauty of the Optima Ultimate Street Car, is that you can take it to your own level. You don't have to go out there and try to just do something that you're not. And that's one thing that I'm just kind of building myself into. I mean, I'm good enough to where I'm kind of, I'm competitive against the other people that are out there, definitely. But I've yet to push the car to the limits. I mean, and that's something where I'm trying to get there. Mike Dussault Designs, a friend of mine that actually is the builder of the car, he was there because we put in the new SLC 924 LT prototype. I'm testing it, and then they're going to come out at the end of 2022. They're going to come out to retail to sell it, but I'm testing it right now. It's basically a T56 direct swap. Take the T56 out, bolt this in, no drive shaft changes, no tunnel changes, no nothing, and you got a full sequential. You do have to do some electronics. I have an Exoneering GCU box. If you're running full Motec system, you could run a full Motec system for the no lift upshift and the rev matching on the down. But Exoneering created a box for me that worked great. And you know, so anyways, Mike was out there at the race just because of everything we've done to the car, and was gracious enough to come out there just to make sure and see if anything had gone wrong, you know, that he could help me fix it, what have you. And you know, one of the things that he was saying on the Charlotte ROVAL was, I was telling him, you know, at some point, and even in some of the videos I posted, you know, I'm going really fast into it, and then I just kind of start driving Miss Daisy. I'm going like 110 and staying there. And, you know, my car, my suspension, everything, I felt like I could just, and I actually had so much oversteer. I had so much steering that I could have just put it down on the apron and just gone down there if I wanted to at 110. And so I was telling Mike that, and he was like, if you can put that car down on the apron at 110, then you're not going fast enough. And because what should happen on those banking turns is that your car should actually try to be floating up the turn. And so, you know, if you're floating up, you can't really park that car down there without, you know, spinning out. And I could most certainly, and I was actually dipping my tires below the blue line on that lower edge quite a bit because I wasn't going fast enough and I had so much steering, and I should have just gone faster. But I ended up on my second session going faster and faster. From qualifying to my fastest lap, I shaved off a little more than 2 seconds. So I was pretty happy with that. But I think I could have at least 0.5, maybe a second, maybe more. I mean, the car could do more. I don't know if I can do more. So over time will tell if I get a chance to get back out there. But you know, I would say if you're going to banking turns, or if you're wanting to go faster, I mean, that's some tutelage that he gave me, because I would have thought that if my car started pushing towards the wall, that, you know, that was the end of it. And he was really saying that, you know, it's not the end of it, because you got so much banking, the car's planted, it's just, you know, the G-forces, everything's just kind of pulling you up there, and you're losing a little bit of grip, but it's not going to snap on you. So that's the thing that I'm always worried about, is the car snapping on me. And if it snaps on you, you're just along for the ride. But, you know, so I've got a lot more to go, a lot more speed to obtain on those types of tracks. But the Charlotte ROVAL, if you missed it, if you ever get a chance to go, you know, I think it's really exciting. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's super technical, but the kinks add a real flavor to the situation. And then the inside road course section, I mean, it does get technical inside of there to go faster. And I think that's one of the areas to where I started going faster around the ROVAL, because, you know, Mike was telling me, you know, you need to push the car more through there. And so I was doing that, but those are fast sections. And just like in autocross, if you're speeding up the fast sections, and not necessarily, you know, your exit speeding up that to get into the fast sections, but if you're not getting the slower sections faster, you know, if you're not cleaning those up, you're not going to shave off as much time as, you know, if you're going 107 and now you're going 114. It feels a lot faster, because it did for me. I felt like I was absolutely flying on a lap at my last session, and I did shave off about 0.5, but I felt like I was like 2 seconds faster. But I didn't clean up the interior road course area. I didn't clean those areas up like I should have, and there's a lot of time in there, just because it is tight. There's walls when you come off of you know, start finish line, come into turn 1, turn 2, 3. I don't know if it's 50 feet wide or how wide it is, but you know, there's white concrete walls on each side of you. So, you know, that's not an area to where you want to lose control, because you don't really have a whole lot of area to pick the car back up and get it where it needs to be. So, you know, there's some areas there to clean up, but it was really fun. It was really just an awesome experience. I'm so glad that the Optima Ultimate Street Car Series is linked up with the Trans Am and SVRA Series, and that they're letting us come out there with them. I just find it to be, there's just a lot going on. The new format that maybe was created because we linked up with them, and that's fine, is really exciting and really beneficial to me in my driving style and where I'm at in my driving career, I guess you would say. So I think if you're hesitating on coming out to an Optima Ultimate Street Car Series, or if you've been out before and you feel like you're not getting as much track time, I would say it's a pretty exciting experience. If you're excited about it before and loved it, I think you're still gonna love it. I really, you know, like I said, 3rd year, so I've had 2 years under my belt. I've probably done, I don't know, 10 Optima races, now 11. So, you know, I've got pretty good idea of what the format was, and you know, I like it. I really do like it, and I'm signed up for every event this year. Hopefully I'll be able to make them all, you know, God willing, and keeping the car going as it is. But the car performed exceptionally well, and I can't wait to do some more testing with the SADEV. And the SADEV, actually the SADEV people were out there to, you know, look at the car. So Fuzzy and Max and a few others were out there, you know, just looking over the transmission. They actually had a mock, kind of a dummy transmission out there for people to look at and to fumble through the gears on. But, you know, that actually, I will say, not just as a plug to SADEV, but maybe just a plug for full sequential, which SADEV is becoming the leader of. Everybody's switching to them just because of their stability, credibility, and just the product that they've created. And this whole T56 direct replacement swap, no fabrication, I mean, I think that's just going to be crucial. Obviously, it's a budget item, but you know, the one thing I would say, and I don't have, is I need a roll cage. But I feel a lot more confident now, even not having a roll cage on these big tracks with this SADEV full sequential, because whenever I was coming in off of big turns, you know, or coming in off of the high banks, or just going fast and coming into a turn, that's always been my kind of bad spot. You know, whether it's early on, I potentially, you know, I didn't break anything, but it did some money shifting, you know, and you're upsetting the back of the car, and you're rattling all around, and you're just really upset coming into a turn off a high speed to where you have to really get down. And it was all because of my shifting and my footwork, and I didn't know how to heel toe, and, you know, because I'm not a racer and I haven't done it forever. And now, you know, and some people had, you know, unfortunately had some issues in these kinks at the Charlotte ROVAL. But now with this sequential, coming into those turns, coming off of 130 miles an hour down to 55, you know, I'm coming down 2 gears, and it's just like I can focus so much more on the turn and where I'm braking and how late I can brake, because all I have to do is push forward and it shifts down, and then push forward and it shifts down. And even if I, you know, get too late into the turn and I should be down a gear, boom, I just go down a gear. You know, all that footwork that you'd have to do with doing an H pattern shift or what have you, you know, that really just always, you know, troubled me. And so I would either coast into the turn or, you know, feather the brake and get all my shifting done way too early, and I wasn't lake braking. I mean, it was just a mess. And you know, now I'm coming way faster into the turns, and I'm shifting, and I feel so much more confident. The car's not being upset, and I've got my left foot always over the brake. My right foot's always over the throttle, probably a little too much. Need to back up a little bit there, but you know, and then so you're late braking, you know, the sequential is just going down, the Xeneering box is up blipping, so everything's just kind of working perfectly. And then you're into the turn and you're coming out of it, and then it's just like get the car, you know, unwind the wheel, coming on the throttle, and then boom, full throttle, and I'm just stick forward, you know, or stick backwards, I'm sorry, and just boom, boom, just pulling through the gears and no shifting. And I can really see it. I saw some comparable differences on people coming out of turns, and I know that they're having to do that shift, or they have that lag between their gears. And I have such tight gear ratios now that I don't have any of that lag. So my fourth gear, if I was to go match to match on a T56 with, you know, comparable horsepower, and we get into fourth gear, you know, I'll be just screaming past because the gear ratios and just there's no lag in the shift. There's no, I think my mile per hour changes are 24 to 26 miles an hour between every year. And so, you know, that's just been real exciting. But the reason I bring that up is just because of the safety factor and just how much more confident it makes somebody who's newer feel that hasn't done a lot of racing and is going pretty good speeds. I mean, I'm not, you know, super lightning fast Ferris Cortumi or anything like that, you know, going around the tracks. But, you know, there's a lot of guys that are faster than me, but I want to build up to that. And this transmission is really giving me the confidence to get there. So I'm excited on what I'll be able to do for the year. I really love Road America, so I'm excited to go there. But Charlotte ROVAL, that was a really badass course. I can't wait to go back. Love the new format in the Optima Ultimate Street Car series. Novice, intermediate, expert, whatever you think you are or what have you, just come out. I think don't be intimidated by the new format. Don't be put off by the new format. I think you'll love it if you loved it before, or if you loved it on TV and want to come out and explore what's going on with the series. I think you should come out. So thanks for joining. Hopefully that wasn't too long. Hopefully there's some good information in there. Hopefully I can put some other stuff out on just kind of race prep, trailer stuff, just stuff for maybe people that are newer, kind of like me. But TexacoCamaro.com, Instagram at Texaco Camaro. You can also, you know, if you wanted to get a die-cast car, Summit Racing selling the cars. We've got 4 to 5 more versions of the car coming out. We're going to have an Optima Ultimate Street Car version of this size. And then there's going to be a big 118 scale version coming out later in the year. So a lot of stuff happening, and you know, I don't make any money off the cars. They just give me a couple free cars, and so I'm just super excited they did it. But so I try to promote it where I can. And Summit Racing's been just super awesome about carrying the Texaco Camaro cars since they came out. So I don't get any money from any of them. So, you know, just, you know, like for people to just give me the exposure, and so I love to give back. But thanks for joining, and if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube page, hit the subscribe button and go from there. Thanks for joining, guys. Take care.